HubSpot's responders said content marketing was their fifth best ROI-driven sales channel. Content marketing.
ROI generating sales channel, according to these 1,400 marketers, email marketing. The classic.
Ooh.
No pain, no gain, right?
Basically just the front end sales channel. He developed a strategy because in his own business he wasn't profitable with the strategy.
Well, it's clearly working wonders for our clients, and it's crazy to me how many agencies don't know about this at all.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The E-Commerce Leader. I'm here with my sick co-host, Kyle. Hey man, are you all right?
Hey, I'm surviving.
Showing up, even
Yeah.
when you're sick.
I'm committed.
Wow.
No pain, no gain, right?
I'm glad you're with us. So mute yourself as needed throughout the conversation.
If I start coughing, I will definitely mute myself.
We're glad that you're hanging in here with us for this conversation. Today, we're going to be talking about a new HubSpot marketing survey that came out. Really interesting stuff in it. They asked 1,400 marketers to explain their top 5 ROI-driven sales channels. In other words, what marketing is producing the best return on investment for their businesses. And we've got the results here in front of us. We're going to walk through this with you so that you see what is working for other marketers. And we've got some other interesting factoids we're going to pull out and talk about from this awesome HubSpot survey as well. So Kyle, you ready to jump into this?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. So the HubSpot survey work basically is people for their top 5, and they've presented them here. We're going to talk about them in reverse order. So we'll talk about the 5th one first, and then we'll count it down to number 1, just like Casey Kasem used to do in the old, radio shows on Saturday morning. For you old people who know who Casey Kasem was. Let's do it. Okay, so HubSpot's responders said that content marketing was their 5th best ROI-driven sales channel, content marketing. So content marketing is generally people refer to it as blogging. I suppose it's beyond blogging. I don't know, Kyle, your take on it.
Sure.
What goes into content marketing in your mind, and why do you think it's working so well?
For sure. I think content marketing can cover a lot of different pieces. It can cover infographics, graphics for social. I think video content could fall underneath content marketing as well. I even think podcasts could fall into content marketing as a subcategory, and I'm seeing more and more brands sort of try to lean into that. It's less prevalent in the B2C side, but there are definitely niches that would, I think, take advantage of like sort of long form podcast content marketing and do really, really well with it. So it just covers a lot. And I think one of the reasons why it drives so much ROI is because the nature of it, you can slice it up and use it in so many different channels, right? So it's kind of like you build a foundation of your marketing for like long form content off of it. And then you're slicing that up in so many different ways and putting it out there that you get to reuse that content in so many different ways that it really does produce really good ROI for you.
It's a great point. That's a really interesting point of view. So basically, let's say you make an infographic, then you can get it out there on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and on and on and on and on. There's so many different ways. I guess if you make a video out of it, you can put it on TikTok. There's so many different ways you can use content marketing creatively. So yeah, that's a great point. It's kind of like you have a hub and spoke model with content. The content is in the hub, and then each of the spokes that goes out a different broadcast methodology is just an opportunity for people to come back and find you. And so, and the better you get at creating the content, the better or more people will be coming back to your site to find you. So, okay, awesome.
For sure.
Content marketing, very interesting. That's the 5th best ROI-driven sales channel for marketers in 2024.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Number 4. You want to do number 4?
Sure, I'll do number 4. The 4th best ROI generating sales channel, according to these 1,400 marketers, email marketing. The classic.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
The classic.
Yeah.
I mean, email marketing is always going to be on any sort of these top ROI lists, and it will be forever. As long as there's email marketing, the history of digital marketing, email marketing is going to be at the top. Now, I would say this, depending on where, sorry.
You okay,
depending
buddy?
on where, yeah. Sorry.
No, he's not okay. Take a minute, man. Take a minute. You're all right.
So what I would say about email marketing is depending on where you're at in your journey, the ROI with email marketing gets better over time. If you're early and you're still heavily building your email list, it's obviously going to be more expensive. But as your customer base grows, your buyers list grows, your email list grows, the ROI from it actually gets better over time.
Yeah.
So if you're a mature brand, your email marketing might be at the top of your ROI. But if you're still new and you're still building, it's obviously going to be more expensive and the ROI isn't going to be quite as good, but it's still going to be better than probably most of your other channels.
I always like to call email marketing the original and best online marketing tool. And it continues to just work. And, people's fear that it's dead is so wrong. In fact, the more companies I get exposed to and the more consulting we do, the more businesses we see, the more I'm honestly shocked at how maybe underdeveloped people's marketing skills are as it relates to email marketing. If I'm being, kind, it just feels like there's so much that should be well known and obvious that's not. And of course, there's also this huge execution gap between what you should do and what you do.
Sure.
You and I fall into this circumstance. If we look at on email marketing, let's be honest, there's the difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And so that's just the reality of email marketing. But one of the things you got to do as a business owner is say, why is my system not producing the output that needs to happen? And maybe you're the problem. Maybe, there's, a system that's not in place. And maybe you've got a mental block in some way, or you've got a team block and some strategy, problem that needs to be sorted out. So email marketing is, there's a huge opportunity there. Okay, so let's keep going on. The third best ROI-driven sales channel, according to 1,400 marketers in 2024, is paid social media content. So interestingly enough, not organic or free content. This is paid content. And I would say probably if I was to break that down, I would assume what that means is, in particular, put content on Facebook that's organic is pretty much a waste of time. Right. Unless you have just a very special niche deal and a very, special relationship with your brand, most likely you're going to have to pay for that content to be seen. And so the paid social media strategies are working, and that's a great place to lean in. So what's your reflection on that one?
Yeah, I also think within this particular survey, I think some influencer marketing kind of gets rolled up into paid social media, because essentially you think about it like you there's your media that you create right from that content marketing section. You're pushing out to social and you're paying for impressions, you're paying for that, but then you also are paying for influencers to create paid social media content on your behalf, right? So I think that is getting leveraged in there and kind of put into that content, which is interesting because there really is sort of like two paths for you to go down. One is you are going to lean in and create as much content as you possibly can as a brand. But then second, it's like, if you don't have that capacity and you still want to get exposure, you still want to get impressions, but you want to have somebody create that content for you, great influencers, great media creators they can actually create the content for you and then also promote it and also put it out to their followers and stuff like that. So it's a way for you to leverage to get that done. And you're just spending money to do it, right? It's either you're doing it in-house or you're hiring somebody to do it. Now, one of the benefits of having somebody like a content creator do it on your behalf is they're already pretty good at creating content, right? Because hopefully they already have followers, they already have that, and they're already locked into that particular channel that they've shown mastery in. So as a brand, sometimes you have to sort of learn that mastery on your own internally if you're trying to like figure that out. Like, what do you do? How do you create good content? But then there's something just inherent about having somebody who's not necessarily directly affiliated with you recommend you, right? That psychological influence, right, is so much stronger than you as a brand just saying, hey, our stuff's amazing, come buy it, as opposed to, the influencer who just something, hey, I just bought this is really great, I recommend you go take a look. So I think that part of it's definitely part of that process with paid social media content, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting part of this is, of course, when you don't have a content factory that's pumping out tons of content, then paid becomes a great alternative. And really, if you can, even if you have a small number of content assets, if you can make them work for you in terms of the return on ad spend, you're golden. You don't have to have a ton of content if you can make the ad spend work. And so I think that's an important idea as well. Okay. Paid social media content. Now, the next couple are shockers to me. In fact, the number one, ROI-driven channel, I could never guessed in a million years. So this is really interesting. So hang in here with us if you're wondering what the top couple are. Okay, let's do the second best ROI-driven sales channel. Whose turn is it? Mine?
It is. I think it's mine, actually.
Yours. Okay.
All right. So here we go. Number 2, web, blog, SEO, all kind of crammed together. So basically, SEO blog content on your site is good ROI. And I can see that, right? So if you're going to layer in, again, content marketing is going to have some impact potentially on your blogging. I would consider blogging part of content marketing. SEO, if you are aligning your blog content to go after specific keywords 100%, you're trying to improve your website's organic reach. I think that is, it's a good ROI activity, right? Like email, it has this sort of long tail effect and you can get a lot of benefit out of it. But there are some disadvantages as well, right? Like it's not something I would tell anybody to put all their eggs in one basket into. And you shouldn't do that anyway in marketing, but particularly SEO, because the horror stories of Google updates across the decades have proven one thing, that if you're just trying to optimize your SEO in a specific way, Google's going to basically put out an update that's going to nuke all that work, right?
Yeah.
And so just got to be careful in that standpoint.
To be honest, I'm really surprised that this is the second best. I wouldn't have imagined that it would be on the top of the list. It feels old to me. We've been talking about blogging for the last 20 years. I mean, it was one of the original formats of, internet marketing. I think the reason it feels surprising to me is because the framing for this survey was, what's your top 5 ROI-driven sales channel? And I'm not quite clear, and maybe, you're more technical than I am, not quite clear that you can really, really measure the technical impact of blogging and SEO work as easily as you can, for example, paid social media. Paid social media, you've got metrics, you've got return on ad spend you can look at. The blogging SEO piece, I understand the work and I understand the value and I understand the strength of getting your key phrases ranked highly, but I wonder how people are technically monitoring that Do you know what I mean? Like, what's your thought?
Yeah,
on that?
yeah. Well, I mean, I think you can track your overall effectiveness of SEO through like Google Analytics. But what I would also say is that oftentimes there's a layered effect, right? So just doing blog SEO work by itself, it's probably not going to get you to where you want to go with it, because you probably are going to layer in your Google ads. You're probably going to layer in your paid socials, and all those signals go back to Google's algorithm and provide lift and bonus to your SEO work, right? So it's not done in a vacuum. It can't be done in a vacuum, essentially. But I do think you can track like your organic impressions, the growth of your site, your backlinks, all that kind of stuff that you're generating to an extent where you can somewhat track it. However, you can't, and this is true of all
ROI. ROI. Those all feel like proxies for success. They don't feel like ROI to me.
I mean, well, there's going to be a fixed cost to do all that work, right? So if you were spending $1,200 a month, right? Yeah. At what point does that work actually break even for you?
But how do you measure the alpha? How do you measure the growth based on those specific actions is what I'm unclear about for blogging. You know, that's the piece to me. That even if you have those kinds of metrics, and you can even say, well, this is their first page they landed on, and here's the attributed sales that occurred, I guess, and their first time visitors to your site, I guess you can get super granular like that. But anyway, okay, so this is just one last comment on the web blogging piece. I think there's a massive disparity between what you might call informed professional blogging on a niche and low cost outsourced paid blog content. You know, you can get anybody to write you a blog for $5.
Right.
That's not going to move the needle, and I don't think it's going to make a difference in SEO or your return on ads or return on investment for your efforts. I think the blogging that is only going to be winning in today's marketplace is legit, long form, truly expert, truly well informed, truly highly readable, highly credible content that people are going to be like, wow, that was a fantastic article. It's worth my time to read. So I think there's a huge quality disparity in blogging, you know.
Definitely 100%. And I think you have to lean way more into the quality side of it to get the ROI you want out of it, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
In other words, you'd probably be better off to pick any dollar amount you want, but let's just say pick $500 for one insanely great blog post, than you would be to pay $50 for 10 blog posts that were mediocre. Like just go for quality, not quantity, you know?
Right.
So.
The other thing to keep in mind too is that this survey is expansive beyond just e-commerce, right? For HubSpot. Sure. So like if I wrote a case study as a blog and I'm selling a $10,000 service to a B2B client, that might have way more ROI than, a blog or like a recipe about, how to make a certain thing that puts your product in it, right? So, you do have to kind of contextualize this data for your business in order to really make it
right. Yeah, good point. Let's go. Drum roll, please. This is the top
number one
ROI-driven marketing strategy in 2024, according to 1,400 marketers. And again, this is a total shocker. Social media shopping tools.
Boom. What is
that? For example, TikTok Shop, being able to purchase directly on Instagram, those types of, tools. You know that space better than I do. But this is the number one ROI-driven marketing channel, according to 1,400 marketers right now.
Yeah.
Social media shopping tools. What are your thoughts on that? And explain it more. Like what is it? How does it work? What's that?
It's really interesting. So I'm actually experimenting with TikTok shops now with the Art Supply brand. So hopefully I'll have a valuable case study to share here with the pod here in the near future. But essentially what's cool about it is that TikTok realized they have a lot of eyeballs, which at the end of the day, the business that you're in, if you're in e-commerce, is eyeballs on your products, right? And the right target audience in front of your product and ready to buy. And TikTok realized they could do that, but they wanted to do it with the least amount of friction as possible. So basically they followed, like a lot of other social media platforms, trying to generate e-commerce revenue. So this is another revenue driver beyond just advertising. They could actually take a percentage of sales, very similar to Amazon does, right inside the platform. So TikTok Shops is an actual like shop, just like you would in Instagram or Facebook, that you can set up, put all your products in, connect it to your Shopify store. You can fulfill it through your Shopify store. You can fill it directly by like printing off labels out of TikTok. If you wanted to do that, they have like a label process. And then as people come to the shop, they buy from you. TikTok takes a small percentage of the sale as sort of the referral fee, similar to Amazon, but it's like less than half. And then you get the proceeds and you ship it out and ship it out to the customer. It's your customer, comes to your Shopify store, right? It's in your TikTok shop. You have that customer. Now, I think that the coolest thing about like a TikTok shop, as opposed to some other like social, like Instagram, for example, is that they actually also let you set up like your affiliate commission for content creators right inside the shop. Therefore, say I want to give a 25% affiliate commission, and that's just the default standard I set. Mm-hmm. Then you could literally go out and just start talking to content creators on TikTok, and once they create their own version of the content they want to do that points to your TikTok shop, when that sale is made, they immediately get paid their commission. So TikTok actually takes care of the affiliate commission for you, right? And then you get the proceeds net and you ship it out to the customer. It's your customer. And so it's a very well integrated system. So, and right now, I would say TikTok ads are, as of this recording, relatively cheap, in terms of video content to put out there. So what you can also do is then you can amplify out that content if you're working with a content creator, and you can spend some ad dollars behind it. If it's really performing well, it enables you to really push that content out there. The other thing that's interesting about TikTok is that the virality of the algorithm is still pretty open, right? As opposed to Instagram or Facebook, which is much more harder to generate, so that viral content. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's really interesting. And there was a case study that I found a couple months ago, where this dog grooming business, they said they had an in-home dog grooming kit. They sold it for about like $80. I think that was about the price point for it. They started a TikTok shop. I believe it was September of last year, beginning of September. Between September of last year and like mid-January, they did like $1.4 million in sales on TikTok shops, primarily on the back of ads and content creators promoting it.
Yep.
So a lot of revenue. So yeah, it's really interesting.
I love it. So another factoid from this HubSpot survey is that on TikTok, 56% of marketers plan on increasing their TikTok investment during 2024, the highest increase of any social media app. Another 33% plan to maintain their current TikTok budget. So 30% are going to maintain, 56% are going to increase. So clearly the fears that TikTok is going to be closed down is not dissuading people from leaning in. It's clearly working on the ROI side. And I have to assume people figure it's going to get resolved in terms of the ownership and the legality of being in America. It'll continue to be in the app stores, and the opportunity will continue to be there. This is just really, really interesting for me. And, I know when you're an e-commerce seller and you're maxed out, you're like, I can't do another thing. I can't do TikTok. But this is the universe telling you, or at least the universe of your peers, that the best ROI that they're getting is happening through TikTok shops and, again, other, social media shopping tools. So if you haven't leaned into that space, then I would just say, you got to prioritize brutally. Maybe you're doing something right now that you've been doing for 20 years and it's marginally working, and you've got to just cut it loose to free up bandwidth and system and process and money to lean into what's working better. And so hopefully this short list is helpful in that regard to kind of give you the direction to go in. There's always something new, friends. Internet marketing, there's always something new. And frequently, I would say, the early adopters get the worm. Early birds get the worm on this stuff. And so if you're behind on TikTok, I would say it's definitely this is your peer group telling you this is working, and it might be time to lean into it. So really, really interesting list, man. Any other reflections or thoughts on this stuff?
There was a couple other data points I thought were interesting, where 71% of marketers said that they plan to leverage both short form and long form video as part of that content strategy for ROI, right? Which would lead itself to TikTok, to social. Video is definitely something to try and take advantage of as much as you can in your business. So I think this is just sort of reiterating that fact. And then another interesting thing from my perspective was another 87% of marketers plan to increase or maintain their investment in influencer marketing, which also sort of, I think, plays into their paid social. And I think it plays into their shopping, TikTok shops. You can really lean into content creators and influencers as part of that strategy. So I think there's definitely still a demand for influencer marketing. It may not be quite the buzz that it was a few years ago, but it's still a very viable approach and strategy to execute and learn how to execute at a high level for in terms of ROI. Once you unlock a couple of really awesome influencers, it can radically change your business overnight.
Yep. And we've had clients who we've seen that play out that way with, clients who have found the right influencer. It's totally just blown up their sales. And it's really amazing to watch,
Yeah. I mean, it is very, like, if you look at their business without having that influencer, they're probably flat or maybe a little bit down. But then you layer in that influencer and they're up massive percent over last year because they have such huge demand spikes with crazy conversion rates, crazy traffic, and just big time sales. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. Okay, let me summarize what we've heard today from this HubSpot marketing survey. And I'll just, mention a few things, the highlights here. It looks like, if I do the math right, 89% of marketers are saying to increase or maintain their TikTok. Marketers say they're going to increase or maintain their influencer marketing strategy. And then again, the number one ROI-driven channel is social media shopping tools, e.g. TikTok, Instagram, selling, etc. So friends, lean into these techniques and strategies. If you need to, buy a new book, watch a new webinar, take a new training, although I don't encourage you to sign up for $2,000 plus trainings on any of this stuff. I think you can probably find everything you need to know on YouTube for free on each of these topics, but lean in and make the back half of 2024 the best fall and winter season you've ever had in your business. And we'd love to see that become a reality for your site. So as always, thank you for listening to another episode of the E-commerce Leader. We love having these conversations about Shopify in particular, but commerce more broadly. And it's really an honor to be able to bring it to you. So Kyle, thank you for hanging in there with me today, even though you're under the weather. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And I would just say this too, like, if you have any questions on any of these topics that we've covered, jump on a 30-minute call with us. We'll be happy to deep dive into your business and see how we can actually, how you could actually apply some of these tactics to your business, because we obviously have experience on all of these, actually working with clients. So I'm happy to have those conversations.
And we also have a set of done-for-you services that we don't generally just, blather on about during this podcast. But if you want to know more how we can help you specifically by doing the work for you, then jump on that 30-minute free conversation with us. You find that link at OmniRocket.com, and we'd love to have a conversation with you about these topics. So there you have it, friends. I'm going to wrap it there. As always, your listenership and your highest and best review, wherever you can do that on your podcast listener tool of choice, would be awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
See you, buddy.